I am Mark Stewart, and I'm going the balanced route with a defense and a request for another highly popular candidate for the Libertarian Party's convention. So earlier today, I had a request of Jacob Hornberger. I now have one of Justin Amash, and it is, I think, your best defense. So please take it seriously. Congressman, you've offended the sensibilities of most members, long-standing members of the Libertarian Party. Your proposal for $1,200 a month until a crisis ends just goes against every one of our tenets for a lot of reasons. I do have a reason why it might be justified. You have yet to announce it. Let me give it to you as your best defense that we have trashed the America that once was a libertarian America. We're pretty close, where you never had to give out handouts because people expected to save for themselves and in dire cases to rely on one another. We've lost that expectation thanks to big government at all levels and government taking care of our every needs. So with that expectation trashed on an emergency basis, then maybe. Short term, maybe. But with this defense should come an offense. That we are resolute in never having this situation again. That we dismantle the welfare state. That we dismantle reliance on federal, state, and even municipal governments. We will never be able to get rid of pandemics. But we can fight pandemics, the economic, and to some extent the health aspects, by private charity, private innovation, private reliance on your neighbors, reliance on groups who are probably looking out for you. Don't ask the government to spend an even $1,200 per person per month willy-nilly. Some people aren't hurting. Some people are actually doing quite well in the crisis and getting a check nevertheless. Instead, the libertarian way is to encourage one's neighbors to help people where they're hurting. Those people, and only those people, which we can discern so much better than a state welfare agency possibly can. And with it, the recipient of that welfare is properly indebted to a human, a good soul down the road, a good church that is on the lookout for fellow humans. You can't have that feeling of indebtedness to the big, faceless government. Justin, I think you know this. You've been one of the better congressmen for a while, okay? You're one of 6 that I'd like to see reelected. You know that we can get back to an America that doesn't rely on government for our personal preservation. You are good, and like many, probably most congressmen, you are good and in a system that perverts goodness. Well, you're now in a party that wants to change the system, okay? That's what libertarians are about, to get to a better system. And guess what? It's not a pipe dream. This country was that kind of country in the 1890s. We weren't even that far away from it in the 1930s, okay? Welfare payments were quite minimal during the Great Depression. There was WPA, where many men were employed. Different from just charity. And many were actually working for a brand new paycheck. That has a moral component, that we're paying for work. Now, we're still taxing younger generations. That's a possible problem. And again, that goes away with more reliance on ourselves and our private institutions. Getting a check without tying it to work? Come That is not libertarian. It's not American. So here's your offense. Get back to the possibility that with a fervent president, supported by a majority in Congress who are libertarian, maybe still Democrat and Republican, but think libertarian thanks to influences by this party, that we end up with a better America and never have to issue this kind of UBI. Let me say, the worst thing about the late largesse of our government was the PPP issued not the first time around for paycheck protection, but the second time. When the money ran out quickly, which of course it was going to do, just with hardly any thought, Congress then issues another round. Well, that makes Congress affirmed as a teat to rely on, to suckle, when we should be sucking to ourselves. And all right, that's probably the wrong terminology, but please recognize that over and over again, which is what your UBI proposal does throughout the quote pandemic, because who knows when it's going to be quote at end. There's a lot of gainers while the things are shut down. So that sustains more and more government payments along the UBI code. Unless you really believe in long-term UBI, Justin, for everyone's sake in this party, please explain or at least assert a dedication to never having to do UBI again.